We all know that there's tons of secrets in games. There's hidden powers, items, endings, etc. There's just lots of stuff. But sometimes they're just a little simpler. Just some goofy messages that the developers decide they want to send to you. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 20 hidden notes left by developers that make us laugh. Starting off with number 20, it's Well Done, But Go Back from Phantom Liberty, the Cyberpunk 2077 expansion. Sometimes developers anticipate what we're going to do before we do it. It's one of the biggest challenges for developing a big open-world action game, in fact. We're all going to try to break the rules and get places we were just never meant to reach. And the Cyberpunk 2077 expansion has one that both congratulates us for trying something new and teases us for trying. One of the two final missions of Phantom Liberty pushes your cybernetically enhanced hero to traverse a main tunnel and reach a terminal. If you're feeling particularly spicy, you can follow the train tunnel and dodge the oncoming train traffic, ducking into alcoves until you reach the end. The final sprint is the toughest. The developers patched this little Easter egg to make it even harder to reach than normal, but we use the updated photo mode to view the very end of the road. At the end, you'll find a big message that says, "Well done, but go back." Getting here wasn't easy, so we're thankful developers were nice enough to at least acknowledge us for doing something so pointless. At number 19 is See You on the Other Side in Helldivers 2. At the end of the tutorial, there's this sign that says See You on the Other Side. You see it right before entering a pod and immediately getting sent into the meat grinder that is Helldivers 2. Originally, there was nothing there, but they recently made a slight alteration. If you look around the sign, you can find a second, smaller sign behind it, and the sign is literally just on the other side. Yeah, that's stupid as hell, but it really does fit the humor of the game. It's a real small one. I mean, all they did was copy-paste the sign, but it's one of the most effective laughs on this entire list. It's just perfectly dumb. At number 18 is Donkey's Cry for Help. At the end of Animal Well, I mean the very, very end of Animal Well, about 3 layers deep, well past the point where most normal people give up, you can reach this place commonly called Time Capsule Island. How you actually get there is like a whole video on its own. You have to beat the game, and then beat it again by getting all the eggs, then beat it again, find all the bunnies, then solve the puzzle related to them, and lastly, there's the most complex layer of the game with the broken messages, which only appear when you do a bunch of extremely obscure stuff. Really bizarrely obscure stuff. I don't know if you've ever watched videos on this. It's a lot. No human being would ever figure it out naturally, I don't think. Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't, okay? Your reward for fully completing the game is a fairly modest one, but it's a charming message from the game's solo developer, Billy Basso, who congratulates you for finding something you assumed would be impossible. That's not the funny part, though. The second message on the island, this time from popular YouTuber Video Game Donkey, the guy who supported the game through his own publishing company. In the message, he adds a whole new layer to the entire Animal Well story by saying that he's trapped in the game and needs you to help, and he'd really appreciate it if you came in and got him out or something. Of course, there's nothing you can actually do. This is the for real end of the game. There's no donkeys to save, but it's a pretty funny wrap up to what's an otherwise a pretty eerie game. At number 17 is The Manliest Man Alive from the Talos Principle. A lot of hidden stuff in the Talos Principle, but you're not seeing a lot of messages or notes per se. One location that just does have straight up notes written down is Developer Island, a secret island in the World A hub. You just go behind this false wall and their portal is right there. There's a lot of little jokes around here, but the specific message I'm talking about is hidden in the Hall of Fame. Here, there are a bunch of plaques with dedications from multiple people. Some of these are jokey, some are sincere, but what I'm actually looking for is a hidden message within a hidden message. Instead of a picture, there's one plaque with a QR code. Scanning it gets you this bizarre message: Manliest man alive. Have some free mouthwash, free shampoo, and free shower curtains for decoding this. I don't know why that's there. Moving on to number 16, I swear to God, this isn't butter. I'm seriously going to lose it, from Another Crab's Treasure. There's a whole lot of goofy stuff hidden around the margins of this game. Almost every piece of discarded trash you find in the ocean is some kind of pun or joke title of a real product. This is probably the best. Obviously, it's a joke off of I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. And if I stop there, that would be enough to elicit a sensible chuckle, but not a lot else. But there's more. There's so much more. If you look at the side of the container beside the nutritional additional facts, and there's an entire unhinged paragraph that's only barely readable that quadruple downs on the one joke premise by saying, "The only, and I mean the only thing maintaining my tenuous grip on reality and preventing me from having a full-blown, irreversible nervous breakdown in the middle of the dairy aisle is the unshakable knowledge that within this package is a genuine stick of butter and not margarine or any other similar substitute. I've been cheated so much, been lied to so many times. I seriously cannot take it again. I almost don't even want to open the package." Whatever, here goes. It really speaks for itself. And number 15, The Zone Will Never Let You Go from Stalker 2. This one's not exactly laugh out loud funny, but it elicits a small chuckle or grin. It's the thinking man's LOL, I guess. Anyone remember that iconic title screen from the original Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl? Well, it's back in Stalker 2, hidden in a remote section of the game that most players will rarely stumble on. It's in the cooling towers area, way up in the northwestern corner of the screen, right up to an impenetrable wall of radioactive death. If you stop to take a look, it's really identical, save for a message written on the wall in Ukrainian, which is untranslated. Thankfully, there's some helpful native speakers online willing to translate this one for us, and according to them, the text reads something like, "It or she will never let you, and it doesn't let you, or doesn't let you." Basically, they're saying the zone, shorthand for the Chernobyl exclusion zone, is inescapable, or that people are somehow compelled to keep coming back, which is a pretty good metaphor for the existence of this game. I mean, it's been almost 2 decades since the original Stalker came out. The sequel went through development hell. There were times it seemed like it never would come out, got fully canceled at least once, and don't forget the whole war thing, like in real life. The fact this game ever actually came out speaks to the truth of that message. For whatever reason, the developers just couldn't let the zone go, and we, the players, keep coming back too, even though it constantly kicks our asses. And number 14 is Frank West in Left 4 Dead 2. One of the most well-known parts of the Left 4 Dead games is the messages written on the walls of the safe houses. These would hide memes and references, and sometimes they were just funny on their own. They were never all that hidden, though, but this one is. In The Passing, a DLC campaign for the second game, there's a little side room in a bar that's absolutely full of these sorts of notes. Maybe it used to be a safe house at one point, but it's not safe at this point. There's zombies all over the place, and the hectic nature of the gameplay means you're probably not going to take the time to check these notes out. There is a funny note here, one from Frank West. Yes, Dead Rising's Frank West. It says, "Otis, no helicopter, zombies are too fast, not gonna make it." Signed, Frank West. It's a very, very specific reference. They mention Otis, the old security guy who's on the walkie-talkie in the first game, mention the helicopter, which is the thing you're waiting for to escape the mall, and this is all very similar to the final message delivered by Frank at the end of the game. The zombies are too fast part is new, obviously, and it's a reference to the fact the zombies in Left 4 Dead are much faster compared to the ones in Dead Rising. It's a good reference, snappy and amusingly specific. And number 13 is Dragon Age the Veilguard, a subtle one from the Veilguard. As part of Emmeric's companion quest, you eventually go into the Fade and suddenly things start to look very Dark Souls for a while. It's fairly different from the sorts of environments you usually see in the game, so it stands out in my brain as looking Souls-like. And yeah, just sue me for saying Souls-like. We'll see if that one holds up in court, guys. I think the devs are probably thinking the same thing, because off the beaten path there's a little note that says, "Treasure, try down," and then if you look down, there's a secret path. It's a reference to the famous player messages in the Souls games or in Elden Ring. The syntax is exactly the same, and it's the sort of message you'd expect to see in one of these games. The only difference here is it's actually helpful. If they wanted to accurately recreate the Souls experience, they should have made it so you just die if you jump off the ledge. That would have been a lot funnier. I mean, it's not that it's not funny, it is funny, but yeah. And number 12 is the Konami customer support in Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Silent Hill is even spookier when you realize there's a hidden phone number you can call in-game to hear a message from the diabolical minds of Konami. The number is found in the instruction manual and nowhere in the game. If you choose to call it, you get a funny message acknowledging your very bad situation. The Konami customer support representative quickly notes that the caller ID says you're in Silent Hill, so they can't help you. This is the actual number for Konami's customer support. At least it was at the time, making this one of the most clever little Easter eggs we've found in a while. Instead of a message from the developers, we're getting one from the publisher that you're totally screwed. Good luck anyway. And number 11 is the Loot Cave in Dying Light. Somehow, we've never covered this one here. With all of the many Dying Light Easter eggs we've talked about on these lists over the years, one of the best ones that's been overlooked. So it's time to right that wrong. Finally, looking at Dying Light's Loot Cave. Hidden northeast from the harbor area, there's a cave you can reach by water, which is full of chests containing treasure. When you approach the back of the cavern, a horde of zombies starts crawling out of the cracks, and a message will appear. Your destiny is to build your legend and get loot. Obviously, it's a reference to the Destiny Loot Cave, and it doesn't stop there. You kill enough zombies and eventually get a second message. Enough! Patch 1.0.2 activated. Better do some quests. And number 10 is just some pure nonsense and unreal. You're here for stupid messages, and this is about as stupid as the secret messages can get. Hidden in a normally inaccessible spot in the second mine level, which on its own is a reference. But the first mine level is called Dig in the game files. The second one's called Dug. Get it? Get it? Get it? Dig Dug. Do you remember arcades? I remember arcades. Yeah, that's the level we're operating on here. So to find this message, you have to find this elevator that goes up. You take it and you turn on fly mode. Literally the only way you can get to it is to cheat and fly across the gap up into the rafters. There you'll get an update on your translator that says these words of wisdom. Canada is really cold. I like Dos Equis beer. My cats are fuzzy. It sounds like a haiku, but you should understand that that is not a haiku. It is pure poetry though. Chef's kiss. And number 9, there's a secret message in Tails' tablet in Sonic Colors. It's a lot trickier to translate because it's not in a language that anyone is actually fluent in. You need a deep knowledge of hexadecimal code to decipher this silly message. It's definitely not worth all the work, but you know Sonic fans, they can't help themselves. They did the work anyway. Near the end of Sonic Colors, you can get a close-up view of Tails' little yellow tablet. What initially looks like binary scrolling across the screen is actually hexadecimal code. Anyone nerdy enough to translate it will be rewarded with this message. If you can read this, you're a geek. And yes, that typo is in the original game. At number 8, you can have this for your trouble in Ion Fury Aftershock. Duke Nukem 3D was filled with little messages like, you shouldn't be here. For players who manage to reach unintended places, Ion Fury is intended by the developers to be a spiritual sequel to that game, so no surprise here, they hid one of their own around with their own little twist on it. This specific message is in the Aftershock DLC's third major section or chapter or whatever they're calling it. It's called Suburbia Under Siege. If you cheat through a wall in this aqueduct, you'll find an unfinished section of the game with a simple message. You're still not supposed to be here. If you look further, there's more to the message. It has, but you can have this for your trouble right next to a button. What do you get for pressing it? Well, it's just a single armor piece. Oh, joy! Joy! Rapture! And number 7 is a CD player secret in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Alucard left us a message in the classic game, Symphony of the Night. The PlayStation 1 was actually the first console to really popularize using CDs for storing video game data, and CDs were primarily used for buying and selling music in the 1990s. Combine those two simple truths, and people were sticking their game discs into CD players, and sometimes something would actually happen. Putting Symphony of the Night into a CD player plays a short message from Alucard's deep-voiced actor, booming out a warning that you shouldn't listen to the first track, but that you probably won't listen to him. And after that message, we get a completely awesome remix of the opening track of Castlevania's Castle. For once, we're being rewarded for ignoring developer warnings. Nice. And number 6 is I Respect You from Super Monkey Ball 2. There's a level in this game that's kind of suspicious. It's called Bumpy, and it's mostly just a flat grid with a lot of bumps on it. Smarter players than I immediately identified what this was and managed to translate it, and you can easily get a full view of the course by zooming all the way out on the level viewer. I'm not sure if it's the right direction, might be upside down, but you get the idea. It's a secret message. It says, "Hi, this is Jamad," who I don't know who Jamad is, probably one of the developers, and it says, "That is right, Braille alphabet. I respect you." It's mostly just a nice message, but there's something so weirdly blunt about it. It's such an unnecessary inclusion. It's just kind of funny that it even exists. And number 5, I suck at making maps in Doom 64. Not all secret messages are goofs aimed at the player. Sometimes developers get a taste of their own medicine. In Doom 64, there's this bright green texture that reads, "I suck at making maps" players can find in multiple maps. And there's good reasons for that. These textures weren't meant to be found. They were made to kick developers in the butt. Instead of a normal broken texture or untextured wall, this texture was designed to call out map makers specifically, which is extremely funny in its own way. We're not seeing Easter eggs when we're finding this texture. We're finding a genuine mistake. And number 4 is the true Zane from Slayers X. Sometimes developers just hate their jobs, they hate their bosses, and they hate the game they're working on. All 3 are true in Slayers X, which is a ridiculous parody FPS created by the coolest guy. I'm sorry, it hurts to say that. The coolest guy that's ever existed, Zane Lofton. Found in the Boise Potato Festival level, there's a colorful crevasse that leads into hard-to-reach alcove, full of developer facts and references to the developer's previous game, Hyperspace Outlaw. There's pictures of a chubby, balding, deadbeat dad version of Zane Lofton, alongside notes that the real developer is making the game as a favor to his high school buddy, who he now despises. It's obviously all a meta joke. None of these people are real, of course. The entire game is about one man's pathetic dream to make it big by making a video game about himself and how cool he is. Zane and his developer might not be real people, but this fake message is so ridiculous, we had to include it here. Also, in all seriousness, this is a funny game, but it's so easy for people not to understand that it's a joke and shut it off. I mean, in retrospect, it should be obvious, but more than a few people did exactly that. And number 3 is the fuck you door from Fallout 3. Sometimes developers just have to lash out at the world. We've talked about this one before, of course, how could you not? But also, how could we not want to talk about it again? Sometimes developers just need to scribble bad words in random spots of the map. I think probably one of the funniest things, though, is this developer message where they built a door into a rock face in Fallout 3 that when you open, it's got this message for you. It's near the NN03D SATCOM array. It's a concrete structure on the side of the rocky cliffs. Open the door, it says fuck you behind it. It's just spelled out with green spray paint on the rocks. It's so random, so pointlessly cruel and unnecessarily hostile. It actually feels very fitting for the Wasteland. Also, it's exactly the kind of humor you would see in Fallout 2. So Bethesda, we're gonna keep saluting you for this one. And number 2 is the banana fail in Just Cause 2. While we're on totally random messages, let's talk about what is sitting at the coordinates of X 21,900 and Y 20,265 in Just Cause 2, because there you will find a message spelled out with bananas. Banana fail. Like a shipwrecked survivor on a desert island, this is a call for help from a developer trapped in the office, forced into permanent crunch conditions, with no easy way out of the drudgery. The only escape, leaving a weird message that literally no one else on the development team will know about, spelling out banana fail with bananas. Hey, why not? All the bananas are physics objects too, so you can easily ruin the sign if you mess with it too much. Don't know exactly what this is a reference to, if anything, but let's leave the developers to have their own private banana-themed breakdown in peace. And finally, at number 1, I need text of interest here in Half-Life. Let's wrap this up with something stupid. In the original Half-Life, during the opening chapter of the game, the part where you can't shoot anything, there's alternating posters on the pathway to the elevator that takes you down to the experiment that sets off the whole franchise. One of the posters is for the Black Mesa Security Force, which has a bunch of almost indecipherable text on it. It's not just because it's too small, it's also extremely low resolution. I mean, the game did come out in 1998 after all. Memory budgets were still pretty low. Still, some dedicated fans did manage to pull the texture files and carefully examine them to figure out what they say, and the results are pretty damn funny. I'm just gonna read it verbatim. There's nothing else that needs to be said about it. Here, if you can read this shit, then you are really fucking strange. ... with good eyes. And eyes is spelled EYEYES. So eyes. Did the G-Man write this? I don't know. The second poster says, I really need text of interest here. No, really. Go ahead and picture something cool in your mind's eye. Make up something of what you would like for this to say. Today, this would probably be AI-generated stuff that might be even weirder, or might not, I don't know. But you gotta admit, it's fun when stuff like this exists. I like it when they just, for the sake of having to fill something up, write some really strange shit. Anyway, that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter and book me on Cameo at Falcon Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.